Oh, this is what episode? Episode 7 of the podcast, I believe. We have Beth on this week. Beth makes me feel very old with some of her discovery in music, but she has a very wide taste of music, and it's just interesting to find out how she fits hip hop into that. She's very much a vibe person, which I like to find other vibe people because a lot, people often go, "Yeah, it's the lyrics," but I'm more of a vibe person. Anyway, this episode was fun. When I was listening back to it, I forgot how fun it was. Interesting thing that came up was, do people craft their own playlists? What kind of playlists do you guys have? How do you decide them? For me, a playlist is a very personal thing. I have multiple playlists, from hip hop to rap to other genres of music, sometimes mood based. Anyway, we get into that on the episode. On this episode, we get a bit deep in places. So there might be some triggering topics for you guys. And I'm still learning about these topics in general, and always happy to a conversation. So if anyone feels like I've offended them or said anything that may maybe come from a biased point of view, just let me know. I'm happy to have those conversations, happy to learn, happy to be corrected. But yeah, enjoy the episode. Hopefully you enjoy it. Here it comes. See you at the outro. Hello, and welcome to Hip Hop Choices, the podcast. Hip Hop Choices from Assorted Voices. That's literally the first time I've done the tagline in weeks. I don't know what made me do that then. I've just suddenly remembered it.
Just keep forgetting.
Just keep forgetting. As you hear, I've got a guest with me. I always have a guest with me. What am I talking about? I've had a pint of Guinness. Let's not talk about that anymore. Anyway, this week, I hope everyone's good anyway. And it's getting closer to, end of lockdown. The sun was out today. It didn't get dark at 5. It was a bit light. Anyway, this week I've got Beth, different Beth to the one episode that came out today. It's different Beth. I know multiple people with the same name. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm rambling now. But yeah, it's just it's Beth this week. I picked Beth because I work with Beth, and at work I would see her at her desk when we were allowed in the office pre-COVID. She would just be raving away as she's doing her work, got headphones on, raving away, and she have just a mix of music. She'll have hip hop, rap, uh, dance, techno. She'll be, doing the ballads as well, just at her desk, zoning in. And I thought that would be a really good person to have on it, who had someone who had a really wide variety of music taste. So, welcome, Beth. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. See, this is the thing. I did this with Jack. We've already spoke. I know how well you are. It's just for show. Really,
I
this.
know exactly what you mean because I listened to that episode and I
Yeah.
was like, that is just typical Nick.
Yeah. But yeah, I know you're all good. I know you're, excited that lockdown is on the way out, and you've got plans, and I know work is good because I talked to you at work. Literally, this is the worst bit of the podcast. I don't know why. I need to think of something that's a bit of
Maybe
an
you need to get yourself in the mindset and just pretend that people don't know who we are and people don't know that we work together and just pretend that maybe we're just complete strangers.
I can't pretend. That's just really false, and makes it. I feel like that's false, and I'll be like, and part of it, like when I kind of do the bit before, is to relax you, because most of the people that are on have never done a podcast before. The only people that have been Jack. Jack had done a podcast before, who
Yeah.
and then everyone else has never done a podcast before. So everyone else is just a bit a bit nervous, like you were.
I
We're asking you
was very,
questions.
very nervous. I was really thinking about this like it was like some kind of like job interview. Like it was
Yeah.
really, really stressing me out.
Yeah, well, if it was a job thing, you wouldn't be getting a job. So,
Well, here's Nick. We've not even like 10 minutes in and I've already lost the job.
But yeah, it's just to relax people, because I have the easiest part. I just ask questions really
Yeah.
about a topic, so it's very much to make everyone feel at ease. So if anyone wants to come on again, you know, I try and make this as comfortable as possible and make it easy. And it's just a chat. After a while, I'm sure Beth will notice that you forget you're talking to like we're being recorded. It just
Yeah.
flows naturally. But anyway, that's just a bit about that was a sneak peek behind the scenes of this podcast for some reason.
Special
Anyway,
episode.
it's special episode. Anyway, let's get into this. So tell me how you got into hip hop and rap music.
Right. So I would say I was probably first introduced to rap or like hip hop maybe around the age of 13 or 14.
Mm,
So my friendship group at the time was pretty much all boys. Like the
mm,
only girls back then were me and my best mate Erin. Um, Probably with around 6 or 7 other boys. So it was a fairly sized group, but the only
mm,
girls in the group, and we're both probably quite laddie. Into football, into
mm.
sort of being a bit rough. Like so, yeah, it was cool. But we didn't really have much influence on the group. It was kind of like whatever the boys says goes, and that included their music.
Mm,
Um, and they were heavily into rap and a little bit of hip hop, and that just went that was just the music we listened to day in day out, and it didn't matter. Sort of like, well, despite the fact that the speaker was actually mine, it was always their music, their music that they was playing. You didn't really get a say. Um, I don't really know why. Maybe it's just because they're boys and that was the music that they were interested in. But I would say that the attraction probably came from the attitude and the lyrics that comes with that kind of genre.
yeah,
Um, I think it kind of made them feel cool in a way. Like
yeah,
you're at that age where you kind of want to be cool and like I don't know, be popular, and
mm,
maybe rap was like their way of like feeling that way, which is fair enough.
yeah,
Um, but you kind of had to earn your place in the group with the boys. Like
mm,
you kind of had to be on their level. Like they didn't treat you any differently for being a girl. So, you know,
yeah,
you had to like earn your place. And I would say that I did that by listening to rap and enjoying their music because you
mm,
could then listen to it and vibe to it together.
yeah,
At first, I wouldn't say I never hated it or disliked it, but it wasn't my favorite. I think at that age I didn't really know what genre I was kind of into.
mm,
But sort of the more I was like listening to it with them, the more I did get into it. And it didn't matter whether you was kicking a ball about, having a walk around or whatever, it was just always playing. So I would say that's how I got into rap and hip hop, was just purely just from being around the boys.
yeah. Do you reckon? So did you grow up the same place you live now? I won't say where you live, but did you was that where you spent your 13-year-old days? Like,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I've lived here since I was about 3,
yeah,
and probably when I was around 8 or 9, I first started sort of going outside and playing with like the neighbours, if you like. And
yeah,
because the place we live is quite small, we all knew each other because we was all of the same age, and we went
yeah,
to like similar primary schools and secondary schools. So
yeah,
we would just hang around after school and at the weekends and stuff, like all together.
yeah. And I wonder if they felt they that hip hop and rap like made them feel cool because like where you live is not a cool place is it, if you're a
No,
kid. Yeah,
it's
and if
not.
and like I would say no hip hop or rap music has spoken about where you live. It's an idyllic Kent town basically,
Yes, for
isn't it?
sure. Yeah, you don't
So
get this place in hip hop for sure.
maybe that's why that it appealed to them. Do you kind of like remember any of the songs you were listening to at the time,
Oh, it's hard.
or any artists at all?
It was on the rap side of things. There was quite a lot of grime.
Yeah,
So I recall like JME was a
yeah,
big one. Um, I can't think of the guy's name. Is it General Levy?
yeah. General Levy, yeah,
Yeah, General Levy. He was a big one. I remember that there was like a fire in the booth or something like that, and it was him and like a sort of group of other artists, and it was like a 20-minute long session, and it was
mm,
like something that the boys used to play like all the time. They just loved it. Um, I'm trying to think what other artists they would list. Obviously, Eminem goes without saying. Everyone knows Eminem.
yeah.
Um, I really can't think of them off the top of my head, but like it was mainly just like rap all the time. And
Mm.
they would be the big artists that you think of, like the ones that are still in the charts today, probably.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I can't think of them off the top of my head.
yeah, yeah. It's just interesting because you're younger than me, and I've had very much a lot of people of my age group, and they would say like the way they. So how did you find those songs? Because that's going to be the difference, like between that age. How did you find those songs? Where did you kind of? Because traditionally from the people in my age grade, it would be cassettes, CDs. Was it still the same there? Because or was just different?
Well, this obviously we had phones, so
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
they,
We didn't have phones when
yeah.
I was younger, so yeah,
So obviously, I mean, they weren't like they are today, but we had
yeah,
phones, so you could like go on the internet and stuff, and it was mainly found through like YouTube and stuff like that. But I remember this app, I think it was called Tubedy, and
yeah,
um, I don't know whether it was even allowed at the time, but
yeah.
you could download the music, and that's where we would get the music from and just listen to it out and about. So it was obviously like an online thing. There was no cassettes or like what are those old things called, like the Walkmans, Sony Walkmans or whatever they were. None of those.
Those old things called. Literally, I
Yeah,
remember like it was yesterday. But this is really interesting to me because, um, like I don't know how kids are discovering music these days, and it's like I knew how I discovered music, and like it's really interesting to find out how you enter like your love of music, how or your love of different artists happen
yeah.
at different ages.
I think it
Like,
has a massive impact or influence that will have on you is the people that you have around you.
mm,
Like, I mean, my music taste is very diverse, and
yeah,
I would say I'm pretty open to all genres of music. Like, sometimes I might listen to it and be like, oh, do you know what, that's not a bit of
yeah,
me, but I'll
yeah,
never make someone feel bad for liking it. Like, some people will be like, oh, that music's shit. Like, I don't think any music's shit. Like,
mm,
it's just you're not particularly a fan of it. But I mean, my music, the people around me all listen to different music,
yeah,
so my auntie was very hip hop R&B, my friends were very rap, my dad is like, he's like a clubland like enthusiast, like everything like
mm,
techno clubland, like
yeah,
ravey. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? So, and then you got my mum, like literally Jane, a plain Jane, and she's just like your classic like car song. She'd like get in the albums that was like now 70s in the car or something. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So I think that has an impact on where people find their music, but also into like now with the technology and the apps and stuff we have, that's huge because you're just not limited to what you can listen to.
yeah.
Like, I
So
use Spotify and I love it. Like, you can literally listen to anything at any time.
yeah, I would even say like to you know to really shine a light on how diverse your music is and slightly embarrass you. You like the Wii menu music, don't you?
Honestly, that is an absolute tune. If that was on Radio 1 and they was doing a bop or a flop, mate, that is a bop.
So yeah, talk to me about like how hip hop plays into your day to day now. You say you got Spotify. Do you have a hip hop playlist?
Do you know what? I don't have my own hip hop playlist, but like Spotify does that for you. Like, you don't even need to do that. Like,
Mm,
I wouldn't say I listen to hip hop like, it's hard. I wouldn't go out my way to listen to hip hop necessarily. Like, I'd have to be in the mood for it. So that's not like all the time. But there are a
yeah,
couple of songs which maybe we could touch on later that
yeah,
are, I would say, like some of my favorites. So like the favorite ones will just be in my general library, and like,
mm,
if I'm on playing on
mm,
shuffle or just come across them, then yeah, obviously I'll
mm,
listen to them. But as a whole, it would just be a matter of searching for a Spotify playlist that is a hip hop playlist, or
yeah.
for whatever reason, just listen to other genres of music.
So what do you think it is you'll just go like this again? This is interesting to me because I'm completely different. Like I do use a Spotify playlist, but
Yeah.
why don't you kind of go and craft your own playlists? Like what's stopping you from doing that?
Do you know what? I actually had this conversation with my friend the other day.
Mm,
Basically, we went on a walk, obviously lockdown,
yeah,
and we were talking about music, and she actually created a playlist for us that has our favorite music in it,
yeah,
the songs we both like. And then she was like, "Don't you have any playlist?" And I was like, "No, I actually don't." And she can understand why. And I have been thinking about it since then in making my own playlist. But because I don't know, because my music just changes all the time. I
mm,
think my whatever I want to listen to very much depends on what I'm in the mood for and what my own mood is.
yeah.
Like,
You could, yeah. I
so
get that. Go on.
I was just gonna say, so like I don't really go for like, if I want to put music on, I don't think I'm going to listen to that genre. I just put on songs that I like, or songs that I enjoy, or songs that will reflect the mood that I'm in or the mood I want to be in.
Yeah, there's nothing to restrict you though to just creating a playlist by mood. Like I have mood playlist. I have a chill one. I have like a party one for the gym. I've not been to the gym. I don't know why I have a gym one. It's just I haven't done any physical exercise in a long time. But I have I put one this morning, which was year based. It was like my uni days, which was a lot of like indie rock, alternative music,
Yeah.
and that just took me back to the days of like going out on a Monday. It reminded me of this. bar in Portsmouth that's called Scandals, and it was a basement basically. It was someone's basement. That's all it
Sounds like
was.
there's a few scandals going on in there,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah. Someone's basement. You could touch the ceiling. They let there wasn't really like there was a bouncer, but it wasn't really counting how many people were in there.
Yeah.
When it was really busy, the sweat on the ceiling would drip down onto you, which is gross.
Oh
That
my
tells you how
god.
gross it. The
Yeah.
toilets were just basically someone's like a normal basement flat toilet.
Oh no.
Basically, it was gross. It was grim, but I had so much fun in that place because it was just like the place you went to when you would. That's where you wanted to end your night after a few drinks.
Yeah.
Safe to say it's not there anymore because it sounds like it didn't meet
Health and
many
safety.
health and safety. But yeah, and you could get really close to the DJ. Nowadays, the DJ is like on the stage and far away. The DJ was literally just behind, you know, a half a wall kind of job with a bit of perspex. But you could get into the DJ booth and
Was
talk
that
to the
something
DJ.
that you would say is normal, being so close to the DJ? Like, was that the only place you've experienced that, or would you say that you've experienced that? That was more common back when you was like younger.
I think it was more common when I was younger. I think nowadays the DJ is very much. I think the DJ is very much further away from the dance floor. I would find,
Yeah, see, I
or
mean, I get it. Like, you have to like, it's all about security and stuff, isn't it?
yeah,
But like, actually being close to the DJ, I feel like that's much more like,
yeah. I felt like the DJs now when I go clubbing or go to a party and there's a DJ or like weddings or like someone's 50th birthday
yeah,
or something like that. The DJ is there for himself. I
yeah,
find the DJ is there to play the music he likes and definitely doesn't often take requests. And I think that is something that I found different. Like if you went up to a DJ and requested a song back when I was like 20, 21, the DJ would play it.
yeah, because
And
they're there for you, aren't they? They want
yeah,
they want to be likable and like they
yeah,
want you to like their set, don't they? But
yeah,
no, I agree with that though, because I've been to a few places where I've requested songs, and I've had quite an unwelcome response.
yeah, yeah. Or you get, it's not that kind of night, mate.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like, well, like, yeah, it's just, I find that really bizarre. Because I used to DJ, I used to do a lot of house parties. I did some like pubs and clubs and stuff. But I always felt like you try and read the room and gauge what kind of music they like. You just don't
yeah,
play your own music. And I think very much so. I think now you become famous for being a DJ, it's very much changed that
mm.
whole thing about it. But yeah, so you, yeah, we got a bit sidetracked there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we
I
did.
think that this happens on this podcast. If you've listened to before,
Yeah.
we deep dive into something that completely not relevant. So like, what kind of hip hop are you listening to now? What would you say your last hip hop track you listened to?
Well, one of my favorites is No Role Models by J Cole.
Yeah,
So I listen to that quite often, and
yeah,
that would be probably the most recent one I listened to be
yeah,
honest. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't necessarily listen to it religiously, or I don't
yeah,
necessarily go to it. So it would just be a matter of chucking on a Spotify hip hop playlist,
yeah, yeah.
which
So what?
consists of the
Mm,
classics, like the big names. We're talking like Tupac and Biggie,
mm,
maybe a little bit of Drake, bit of Jay Z, J Cole, 50 Cent, the big ones. So
yeah,
the typical ones they play on the hip hop floor in the club, like the
yeah,
ones everybody knows. They're the ones that I would probably they're the ones I would listen to now.
yeah. And you say it's often like mood based. What mood are you normally in when you gravitate towards hip hop?
Definitely a good mood.
Yeah,
I think it's just like, for the most part, it's quite feel good music. It kind of gets you in the mood, especially if you're going on a night out, having a few drinks with friends or whatever. Obviously,
yeah,
that's not really a common occurrence at the moment. Let's be honest, but I don't know, it gets you pumped, it gets you in the mood, gets you
mm,
happy. Like, so I would definitely go to hip hop in a good mood.
okay,
Um, yeah,
that's good. Oh, so we'll go on to the next one because we did name drop some people.
okay.
So Tupac or Biggie? So tell me, are you Tupac or are you Biggie?
I am Biggie.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good response. I didn't know how you were going to take that because I didn't know, like, if I'm honest,
I
I don't
love
know
them
much
both, but
about
I like
Tupac.
Biggie.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know much. I mean, I assume that when you ask Tupac or Biggie, it's based on the music.
yeah,
Um, because I don't know anything about them really as
mm,
people. But in terms of their music, Biggie, it's just Biggie. I love his vibe. Like,
yeah,
his music. I was actually listening to him in the car. I say, well, you asked me earlier, what's your
mm.
most recent song? It was Biggie. I was listening to him in the car earlier. I completely forgot. Um, but you can just bop to it. It doesn't matter if you know the song, whether you know the words or whatever. You can just bop, vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I would say that's why I gravitate to Biggie more. I just like the vibe. I like the beat. I like, his voice. It sounds to me better.
Yes.
But I like Tupac's work. I love a lot of his songs, and there are songs that are on the same kind of vibe that is Biggie. But I just think Biggie was, you know, more more my thing.
Yeah.
He would be the person I put on if I was like in a good mood. Tupac, I would, but it would be a second choice,
Yeah.
really. So have you listened to any of Tupac's stuff, or
Do you know what? There are probably some of Tupac's songs that if you played to me now, I'd be like, yeah, I know that. But
hmm,
because I don't really listen to him or know much
yeah,
about him, I couldn't name his songs.
yeah,
So no, I don't really know anything about Tupac. I mean, the only thing I kind of know about Tupac is that there's a big conspiracy about whether he's dead or alive.
yeah,
But
yeah?
obviously that's not something to go into on the podcast. But that's
Oh no,
probably
we could go into that. So I don't think I think by now, if he was alive, he would have come back
yeah,
because um, I think it would have been prime for a comeback at this moment. And I think there's a joke on Chappelle show about Tupac, and they're like, there was a point where you might have been a bit young, but there was a point where he kept, even after his death, he kept releasing music every single year somehow. And
but
there was
Michael
this,
Jackson did that though.
yeah,
But then
yeah,
it's Michael Jackson dead or alive because that's another one, isn't it?
yeah. But there was this skit on Dave Chappelle sketch where it's like Tupac was referencing stuff that was going on, and everyone was like, "Hang on
How's
a
he
second,
doing it?
how's he doing that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if he was alive, he would have come out by now. But I would say listen to Tupac stuff. Maybe a lot of his stuff has been put on Spotify recently.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of his stuff wasn't, but I think his greatest hits are on there. So just check out the greatest hits, and then go from there. Really, I think that's always a good way to start out with someone like.
Maybe that'll open the doors to a hip hop choices part two. Maybe I can go away and take a look at Tupac, and you can come back and ask me that question again.
Yeah, we'll re-record this section.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have a favorite Biggie song?
No, I don't. I
No.
don't know them well enough. I just know that when it
Yeah,
comes on, I just like it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. So would you say you are literally like, is that how you don't remember like in general is songs? It's just like, would you be able to name like song titles, or are you just kind of like a vibe person?
I'm more just a vibe person, and I think it's because
Yeah,
my music is so diverse. There's like a lot of it.
yeah,
Obviously, if we're talking like Stormzy, that's a whole different story.
yeah.
But
I knew we're gonna get Stormzy
yeah,
later.
of
Don't
course,
worry.
though. but but like in terms of like hip hop and a fair few other genres, to be fair, it's just that I just like the song. So sometimes like I'll hear a song, yeah, and I don't know what it's called, and I'll be looking for it for ages because I don't remember or like recall like what it was called, and then I'll find it again. I'm like, oh, I know this song. I've been looking for this for ages. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
maybe I should work on that. Maybe I wouldn't lose so much music then.
No, I'm completely the same. I really struggle with songs. I really struggle to remember the song titles. I recognize who it's by, but I can't remember the titles. I'm really bad at lyrics because I get too into the music and
Yeah,
into the vibe they're trying to create. So
yeah,
I very much I relate to that a lot. And I was just like, it's hard. If you like, I like a lot of music, and it's hard to remember all that stuff.
yeah.
I feel I've been put on the spot at some parties before because people have known I DJ, and they've been like, "Oh, put some music on, Nick," and I was like, "Okay,
What
cool.
songs? Yeah,
What songs do I need to play? If anyone requests anything, I don't know it. Like,
yeah.
and like people will, sing me like I cannot sing for the same. Like, I cannot hold a tune,
Nah, me neither.
and I find it hard to recognize stuff. And someone
Yeah,
would be like, "Yeah, it goes like this," and be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
I
But
mean,
if it came on, there was a beat or something, I would get it.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if the title of the song is the song lyric, then like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll remember it. Like, I
yeah,
don't know, one that's like off the top of my head is like, "Too many men, boy better know." Like,
mm,
that lyric is literally repeatedly said in the
yeah,
song. So like, obviously, I
yeah,
know that's the name, but unless it's like that, like, I'm so bad for it. Like, I just
yeah,
remember it, like, listen to it, and I'll be like, oh, I remember this song. I know this song. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So like, where do you stand on like? Because Tupac Biggie is the iconic verses between like not only rappers but like musical artists really, because
Yeah.
I don't think you've got your other ones that I can think of off the top of my head that's not rap based is Oasis or Blur, but you don't get many where someone goes, I like this band, like, oh, but do you like the other band, like the complete, like the person that
Yeah.
first is getting them. Uh, so I'm going to drop some ones out there. So Nicki Minaj or Cardi B,
Oh, that's so tough.
that one is tough.
Well, do you know what? I'm gonna say Cardi B, right? And
Yeah,
people might disagree, but the only reason I'm saying that is because I did love Nicki Minaj, especially when I was a lot younger. There's a couple of her songs that like that. There's one called High School that I love, and like Moment for Life. But I feel Nicki Minaj chats shit too much, to put it in all honesty. Cardi B tells a story, and I love that in music. That's why I love Eminem. Like
yeah,
for the most part, he has got some weird songs, but like I like it when a rapper sings and actually tells a story rather than just talks gibberish and like talks
yeah,
about girls and guns and drugs. Like I
yeah.
just when they tell me a story, I get much more invested in it. And do you know what? This is gonna sound so bad, yeah. But when I'm having a bad day, sometimes I listen to Eminem because he's at it so hard. I sit there and I think, why are you even in a bad mood? Like get over it. Like it
Yeah,
helps me deal with my situation because I'm
yeah.
like it's not even that bad. Like shut up.
Do you think when you listen, like you're having a bad day and Eminem, you put Eminem with like he understands,
Yeah, like
he
he
knows,
just
like,
gets it.
it just gets me, like,
And like yeah,
yeah, and like that's probably where the music video stand comes from. It's probably someone like you writing in and
yeah.
telling him like you just get me, man.
Literally, that is literally it. It's either
Yeah,
that or the other thing that Eminem does for me is he's so angry that
yeah,
when I know the lyrics and I can sing it with the same anger as him, it's like a
yeah,
release. Like it, you know what I mean? It just
yeah,
just helps.
yeah. So I'm Cardi B,
Yeah.
and I just think Cardi B is hilarious. That's why I like. She is
Honestly, the
like,
sounds, the weird stuff she says, like when she's just chatting and that, like yeah, I agree,
yeah.
she is funny.
The sounds she says, the like her the lyrics, they're all funny. Like she just knows how to write funny rap lines,
Yeah,
also to a great beat. And I just respect as well, like her hustle. Like she was a stripper, and now she is like the biggest,
yeah,
one of the biggest female rappers out there. And
yeah.
like that, there's nothing wrong with being a stripper if that's what you want to do. But that like mindset, like I'm gonna be
Better.
the best
Yeah,
and better. I'm going to improve. Gonna, like this is good for me, but I want better.
yeah.
And then just that drive, like I respect that quite highly from her.
Like I would say though, like Cardi B is the new Nicki Minaj. Like where is Nicki? Like, do you know what I mean? Like I haven't heard like Nicki went through a period where she dropped so many songs. And I feel
Yeah,
like she dropped an album like when I was in like maybe like year eight, year
yeah,
nine kind of age. So what like 13, 14 kind of age. I don't know, can't remember now. But I haven't heard anything of Nicki really. And Cardi B's like quite prominent at the moment with her
yeah,
music and dropping albums and also just like in the media in general. Like she's just in your face.
yeah. She's on that film Hustlers. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've
It
not
was
seen
on
it, no.
Amazon Prime. It's a good film. She's in that. She's doing a lot of stuff. But I wonder if kind of, well, Nicki Minaj hasn't released an album in 3 years.
Only she released one 3 years ago.
Yeah,
See, I,
Queen,
I didn't even know
20
about it.
2018. But when Nicki Minaj releases an album, it is very good,
Yeah,
like very well put together. And we had this discussion on another podcast with my friend PT about when rappers or musicians takes time to craft their album,
mm,
they're very good. Cardi B probably hasn't needed to do that because um, she's more, I would say, she can write a good song, Cardi B, but she's more of a like a mood person, isn't she?
yeah,
She'll get you in a good mood, and
yeah,
that's no, that's not always difficult to do. But when it comes to a content song, I think you need time to step away and what do you call it, write that properly. I think
yeah.
too many artists go too quickly. But yeah, I think Cardi B, well, she's got a new album coming out soon. Her last album was 2018. Maybe that's where the rivalry starts from because they both
Maybe.
had a 20.
I'm
But her
sure. I'm
next,
sure I saw something, and I'm sure it was on like an American like talk show. I'm sure they had a bit of beef. Like I can't. I don't know the details, but
yeah, they did fight. There was like an actual brawl at one, like
okay.
yeah, physical fight.
Oh wow.
Um, at I'm just looking up on this on Wikipedia. At Harper Bazaar's New York Fashion Week, where Cardi B she had a bruise on her face or something like that. But yeah, yeah, they there was a physical fight,
I
but
didn't know
then
it was to that extent. I thought it was just like a little bit of beef. Like, I didn't know like Nicki actually done her dirty like that.
yeah, it was actually a physical fight, and I think that's where it stems from. Their kind of their verses really, but they have. I d- so this is one of the things I don't know if you've noticed at all, but do you feel like there can only be one female rapper? Like
Nah, nah.
because it's often like I find like it's often portrayed that way. Like I was watching a podcast earlier with Jamelia, um, and she was saying that it was only there was a point in the music where one woman came in and one woman came out, and it has changed a lot,
Yeah,
like a lot. So that you've got very good, you've got Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Sweetie, uh, what's it called, Megan Thee Stallion. You've got Dojo Cat. They're all doing really well,
I
and you've
like a
got
bit of
more.
Doja Cat. Yeah,
Yeah, you've got more people doing that. And do you think? Well, so where do you like this is probably I don't know how this would, but it's very like I've got a female on the podcast. Let's talk about female rappers. But
yeah,
I'm generally interested in because for me, watching female rappers come through, it was your Missy Elliott, and then you know then there was a couple women there, and it was never this magnitude of amount of them all at one point.
yeah.
And how do you feel about that? How do you feel that female rappers? Because I guess when you were 13, there wasn't a lot.
No, I mean, the only female rapper I really know from being that young would be Nicki. Obviously, I
Yeah,
know that I know about a few of Missy Elliott songs. Like we've already had this conversation. I couldn't name them, but like she's
yeah.
someone that rings a bell. But yeah, I mean, I've never actually really thought about it. Like, there are many more female rappers now today, and I think that's a good thing. And what you were saying earlier about can there only be one female rapper, I think the answer to that is no. Like, I mean, I can understand if they were very similar,
Hmm.
that could cause maybe an issue, and it would maybe be that there's only really going to be one because people are going to migrate more towards the better one or the most popular one or whatever. But I think they're quite different,
You,
even though
you,
they
you,
all rap.
you say that I'm gonna challenge you a bit here.
Go
Like
on.
um, with male rappers, you've got your little Yachis, little Uzi Verts, little Pumps, Takeshi 69, all very very similar,
Yeah,
all talking about the same thing. But for a long time, what I felt like in female rappers, there could only be one. Like, especially like if you look to the UK scene, there's even more female rappers that are coming through. You've got Little Sims, got Trillery Banks, Stefflon Don. You've got a fair few there coming through as well. And I think what for me has changed within the uh, music industry that's been great is that anyone can record a song and put it on YouTube now.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, I just wanted like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like representing more? Do you feel like you can like, if you were 13 now and hang around with the same group of boys, would you be like, right, I'm going to put on, something by, Cardi B because there's more representation out there for me to say, right, and you know, as I said, I like Cardi B. I'm 31 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's boys of 13 that would play a Cardi B song.
Do you know what? I would like to say yes,
Yeah.
but given the type of group that it was, I really don't know. If you were to ask me that now, would I go meet them boys now and play them musics and play them tunes from like the female artists? 100% I would do it, and I'd be like
Yeah.
listen to this.
Yeah.
But you know, although I would have loved to, probably not because they would probably just shut me down. They were that type. They were that
Yeah.
type of group. They were those kind of boys. It was very male. There was a lot of toxic masculinity going on. Like, let's, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have, even if I wanted to.
Yeah. I would say that, obviously there's a lot in the news at the moment going on about how men are in general. And I think that whole, I think it would have been good for you to stand up to them and say, look, this is not on. And you may have, influenced them to lead on to that. I think there's a lot of pressure on boys to be men
Yeah,
in that, I'm doing
yeah, for sure.
quote symbols. If no one can see on this podcast, why am I doing this? Quote symbols. But there's a lot of pressure on boys to be men.
Yeah.
And I think that pressure needs to stop because it leads to things that we're seeing in the news currently.
Mm,
And I would say you like very much to the younger generation. I know no one under the age of, you know, 12 is listening to this, but any of their parents have those discussions with their children to be able to say, right, respect each other, and like if someone plays music you don't like, for example, just say I don't like that, and then that's be it,
That's
really.
it, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what's important because people can't expect you to like everything. Like that's what
Mm,
makes us different. That's what makes us
mm,
human beings. But it's important to respect each other. That's the main part there. Yeah, that's
yeah,
something that there was a lack of, I would say. And I don't
yeah,
know whether that was because of, it's hard. I wouldn't say that's the type of people they are because I know these boys now, and they're not the same boys they were when we were
yeah.
13. I think it was more of a maybe a lack of maturity and just being young and naive, maybe.
Yeah, do you think anything the music had anything to do with it? Because hip hop and rap is, of that time, it's very well, probably not of your time, but more of my time. I can't really remember. I don't think grime, because you said you listen to a lot of grime, is like that. I don't think a lot of grime is derogatory towards women. I would say a
No,
lot of
that
the time.
no, not grime. I wouldn't say that's,
Yeah,
but
but any of the like, obviously Eminem is very like early Eminem is very like
yeah,
aggressive towards women. And do you think that had any part to play on it?
quite possibly. Um, that makes a lot of sense. Like in all honesty, I don't know. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know what was going on inside their minds at that time. We wasn't at that age where we would like I would love to have this conversation with them now.
Yeah,
I think that would be quite interesting, but that's obviously not something that we did back then. You just went out and played. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But no, I agree that that probably did have a big influence on it. And like I think a lot of the a lot of the boys had older brothers,
yeah.
which was also into a similar kind of genre. So uh, it's probably they're influenced obviously by their brother who's much older. Maybe that's where it's come from.
Yeah. Again, we've completely gone off topic. I'll do one more verses that you may.
Right, go on.
So shall we go for? Oh, let's do this one. Like so, UK music or USA music? Because I know you're a big grime fan in general. So
If we're
uh,
going, if these are tough questions, Nick. These are really tough questions. Um, I'm gonna go with UK
yeah.
just based on the fact that I like UK grime quite a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and
What is
some
it about UK grime that you like?
I think I quite like the beat. I quite like the
Yeah.
flow, and I don't know. I just the reason why I like any song for the most part is just because I can just vibe to it. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I like a nice beat, and grime obviously has quite good beats.
Hmm.
So I would just it would basically be on the beat mainly. Is my first impressions on a song, and then it would be down to the lyrics.
Yeah. So do you think do you feel more relatable to grime in terms of they feel closer to your like again you grew up in an idyllic Kent. Now, do you think it felt closer to you than the American rap?
Maybe. I mean, I don't really know if I listen. I mean, I probably do listen to a lot of American music, but I don't I can't think of any American music that I really am drawn to. Obviously Eminem was a big one, but
Yeah.
in terms of like UK artists and American artists, I think I'd listen more to like the UK stuff. But I don't know how I relate to it. I don't think I do because just thinking about some of the lyrics, they don't relate to me in any way. Like I just live a normal
But
life and
I
it's
it's more of the vibe. So you are like that's what I was trying. Maybe it's more the vibe, not the lyrics and not the people itself, but the vibe is very much like UK. If you feel what I mean,
yeah.
like if like I don't know if you've seen any of the videos online of like Americans listening to grime for the first time,
I
and they're
have
like,
actually. They love it
and
most of the time.
they love it, and they can't understand what's going on, but they love it because they love the vibe.
Yeah,
And I wonder if it's like that for you, like you recognize the vibe, you
yeah.
right, that feels this is cringe. I'm saying quintessentially British somehow, and it feels like maybe that's. Do you think that might be the reason?
Yeah, I think that's literally the biggest factor on what music I like and listen to because it doesn't matter whether you're the most famous artist in the world or it's your first song and no one knows who you are. If I like my first impressions of your song will be the beat. If I like the beat, that's it, I'm hooked. Like
Yeah,
if I can vibe to it, if it's a bit feel good, like do you know what I mean? Like so yeah, I agree. It's definitely the vibe and like the beat and stuff.
yeah. Um, right, we'll jump along to the next section, which is what hip hop album can you listen to back to front? Which the subject is all killer no filler. I'm talking about wrong. All killer no filler, basically. But yeah, what album can you listen to back to front? I think I know who it might be.
So, do you want a hip hop album or just any album?
A hip hop album, please, and then we can go to any album if you
Okay,
want.
so I don't actually own any artist specific hip hop albums. What I love is a bit of Ministry of Sound.
Yeah, okay,
So
that
I've
is fine.
probably got literally an album for like majority of the Ministry of Sound genres that they like release for. I think I've got three hip hop albums. I can't remember them. One of them's chilled hip hop. One of them I got a few months ago. I can't remember the name of that one. But my favorite is called Rapper's Delight,
Yeah, cool.
and
Okay.
it is, I think it's a 3 disc CD. And it's obviously got like some big ones on there: Jay-Z, 50
Yeah.
Cent, Biggie, Drake. Like it's got a bit of everyone really. Um, that would
Oh
be
yeah,
my.
I used to have that album. I used to have
Did
that.
you just
Yeah,
look it up?
yeah. I used to have that album. I used to physically own that album. Um, yeah,
Uh,
that is a very good hip hop you know
so
like
basically, like
compilation album.
the most recent time I listened to it, like front to back, was I what time? Maybe I think it was March time. It was around my birthday last year, so like the very beginning of lockdown,
Yeah.
and I basically spent a lot of money on a Bose
Oh yeah, I
system.
remember.
Oh,
I
don't even get me
remember.
started on that, right? But I love it. It's literally like I see these TikToks all the time, and it's like, tell us something that you spent way too much money on that you don't regret. Like always, it's that. Like I love it. And
Yeah,
my bedroom backs onto the back garden, so I basically go in my room, put it on a CD, turn it up full volume, open my window, so literally the whole street can hear it, and I just chill in the garden, like tidy the garden or whatever. And that's
yeah,
what I did. It was the beginning of lockdown. There was nothing else to do. I was bored. I was like, what can I do? Like I'd booked annual leave because it was my birthday, which obviously never got to celebrate. The big 2-1. Cheers for COVID.
yeah,
And then yeah, I was just like chilling in the garden in the sun, like tidying it up and stuff, ready for the summer. And I listened
yeah,
to that album front to back.
yeah. That is that I would not expect. Like, there's I said this in the episode that's not out yet, but this is very much, hip hop saved my life with Ramesh Ranganathan, but I am, a wish.com version of it, basically. Um, but yeah, I would highly doubt that many people pick a compilation album, but it's a good choice because you are getting the best of the best
Yeah,
on those albums. You are getting, if you look at, you got NWA, Jay Z, Nelly, Joe Budden, Did You Rascal Exhibit, Ludacris, Eve, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock,
I think
House of
that's
Pain.
why like I can't really name many artists or name many like big hip hop songs because I don't listen to specific artists. I listen to albums like that, so
Yeah,
it's just so bit of everything really.
yeah. Do you have a favorite CD? Is it CD one, two, or three?
It's CD1. It's always CD1. I swear
Oh,
they
yeah,
put the best tracks on CD1. Like it just like CD1 is good, and then it finishes, and you're like, oh, I'll go put the next one on, but it never has the same vibe. Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? But no, definitely CD1.
Do you have a favorite song on CD one?
I don't know if it's even on there on that album or that CD, but my like I said earlier, my all-time favorite song would be No Role Models by J Cole. So I don't even know if it's on that disc. I don't know if you're looking at it in front of you, but
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it's not on.
it's
It's
not on
not on
there.
that.
But no,
The album ends with J Cole. That
oh,
CD
okay,
one.
fair enough.
So is that your first? Don't going back to the beginning, was that your first experience of J. Cole? Or do you remember when you first discovered that song? Again, it's probably like Spotify just randomly.
Yeah, it's literally that. Like
Yeah,
whether I'm working or out and about, just listening to music in the background, I have to put on like just a random playlist because if I put on my music, it'll get to a song where I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. So I like skip it and I like
yeah,
lose track in or focus on what I'm doing. So if I put on a random playlist,
yeah,
because I don't necessarily know all the music, I just like let it sort of. I don't really think about it, and
yeah.
I think
Do you
that's just how I discovered it on there.
do you think that's why your favorite hip hop album of the time is a compilation album because it feels like a Spotify playlist
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you?
probably.
You
Yeah,
don't
but
really,
Spotify is the new Ministry of Sound, basically, is it? Like,
yeah, yeah, non-stop ministry of sound
yeah,
for any occasion. But yeah, I wonder if that is more, you know, do you ever buy albums?
I have like loads of albums, but like, and I have like artist specific albums, like I've got Florence and the Machine, Billie Eilish, like
Yeah,
Stormzy, like they vary. Like if I
yeah.
like a few songs of someone, like I'll buy their album, but in reality, I put those on less. I normally go for like one of these like Ministry of Sound albums, or my I just connect my phone and listen to Spotify. So yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah. What? Why do you buy the album then if you've got Spotify? This is
I
just
I tell you why I started buying CDs is because when I first started driving, my car had a CD player,
yeah,
and I don't think at the time I could connect my phone. So that's where the albums came from.
yeah,
And then I got a new car, and I spent the last 2 years collecting and buying albums to listen to in the car, and then my car didn't have a CD player, so I couldn't use them anymore. But obviously, I could connect my phone, so that's why I bought the albums in the first place.
do you play your CDs now when you, or do you, it's literally, or is they just for show?
Most of them are just for show at this point. Like I should probably sell them, or like, do you know what I mean? Because I do listen to Spotify a lot, but I like those ones that have a mixture of everything, like the Ministry of Sound ones, just because it is
Yeah,
almost like, say, like a Spotify playlist.
yeah. Do you like? Obviously, again, you're younger than me. Do your friends or people of your age group still buy albums?
I The only person I know that still religiously buys CDs is my partner Taylor, because she
Yeah,
listens to them in her room and has um like a similar Bose system that she plays her music from.
yeah,
But we've been together 6 years, and I would say over the last two, she's slowly stopped buying albums, because she also has Spotify now, and obviously like she can connect to computer and YouTube and stuff like that.
mm,
But prior to that, like, but she will still buy them. But prior to that, she would be the only person I know that still actually buys CDs.
yeah. Like this is now like a tough question I'm gonna ask. Do you
Mm.
think albums will still exist? Do you think like albums still have an appeal to people?
I'm gonna say yes, because just see, I don't have like what do you call it, a vinyl player, record player.
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life. Like, like, right, but
Oh god.
on my bedroom wall, I
Yeah,
have in frames two vinyls that have
yeah,
been purchased within the last 5 years. I purely purchased them to put them on display.
yeah,
So I feel like there is still a market there, but not for listening, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Whether they'll exist or not, in all honesty, I don't know. I feel like there must be the market there, because surely they wouldn't even bother, you know, putting them out.
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of over the next like 5, 10 years, maybe 15 years, will they still exist? Because as you say, like Spotify, the way we consume music is so different now.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you're putting on playlists. I doubt the playlist has a full album front to back on it.
No.
It's just random songs,
Yeah.
basically by different artists, of which the algorithms say you might like.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, where so what are the vinyls you have on display? What are
What do you think they are?
they? I know who they are. I just tell the people.
They are both of Stormzy's albums. So obviously, Gang Signs and Prayer and Heavy
Yeah,
as the Head.
yeah. So I know you love Storm, but what made you make that? Like, would you do? You Stormzy is, I'm going to say, you're one of your favorites,
Yeah.
but have you done that with any other artist?
No, never.
So what made that leap to buy a physical album of vinyl, which you are likely to never play?
I have never enjoyed an artist as much as I enjoy Stormzy. And I
Yeah,
think because of that, I've never been bothered by any of their merch, or,
yeah,
vinyls for the wall, if you like. Um, but I think that's because it's very rare that I will like an artist and like all their music. I just like the odd song because I hear it on a playlist or on the radio or wherever I've heard it, and it just goes in my sort of jungle of other songs and artists and
yeah,
genres. Whereas
yeah,
I literally love Stormzy. So
yeah,
because I mean, I still really really like him, but there was a period, especially when he releases new music, I become obsessed. Like I actually do,
yeah,
and it was in that moment that I wanted the merch and I wanted to put that on the wall, just because I really like him.
yeah, yeah. I know your love for Stormzy, and I completely get that. There are artists like mine would be Kanye West. I would literally, if I like, I haven't got any of his vinyls. That's probably where I would be the person I would get all the vinyls.
Yeah.
Like, but I have a record player. If you ever want to see one in person when we can, I will show you an actual record
Bring it
player.
into the office one
We
day.
bring it the show and tell. But yeah, and yeah, there is something when you have a connection with an artist that you want to buy the physical thing that they've made.
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask this is because I feel like albums are getting worse, like in general, because they now know, like, there's a few artists that still craft an album really well,
Yeah.
and those I would say are the artists like who I think are like creatively minded artists. I mean, there's some people who are just talented musicians,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it's going, in my opinion. And it seems like that based on what your experience. As again, you're younger than me. You're going to be the future of how music is consumed,
Yeah.
and um, I just think it's really interesting that, especially as well. Like I was speaking to different Beth, whose episode came out today.
Yeah.
She was saying she's a teacher, and all the kids just listen to music on YouTube. Like kids don't have Spotify younger than us, because obviously they don't have money.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
So-
because you have to pay for it.
and they're just on YouTube again, another algorithm feeding them like songs
Yeah.
and not albums and not complete works. And it's just like, will there just be a few people that release albums and just some people that just don't, and just singles after singles?
Yeah,
And
see, when you put it like that, like obviously, like the way that those kids are obviously like consuming music is kind of similar to how I do it now, in the sense that you just listen to whatever's fed to you on the algorithm. So
yeah,
yeah, when you mention that, that makes me have less faith in an album, because
yeah,
you you're not you're not liking the song for the work of the artist, you're just liking it for the song, so you're not necessarily gonna go and
yeah,
look up their other songs and purchase their album, because
yeah,
it's just that one particular song that you so happen to come across that you kind of liked.
yeah. So what's your other favorite album? You said you had another one that was non hip hop based. I'm interested to know that one.
That would have been Stormzy.
Stormzy.
Yeah.
So both of them, both albums.
My favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you pick. Choose your baby. Who's your favorite child?
I'm gonna say my favorite Stormzy album is the first one, Gang Signs and Prayer.
I would say that's my favorite as well.
I feel like that music is better
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
it was more him. Like that's what I liked about him. I don't know, like it was quite fast paced. Like there was good lyrics, good beats. Like in his other one, in Heavy as the Head, there was a good couple songs on there, but there's a lot on there that I don't really like. I like them all, but there's not many on there that I'm like, oh, I love that. Whereas like the first album, like literally you could play 80% of those songs on that first album at a party, and I guarantee you that 5 or 6 people from that party will literally just stop dead in their tracks, put down their drink, and zoom around the house trying to find me to be like, oh my god, Beth, Stormzy's on. Like it,
yeah,
it happens every time. So like,
yeah,
and I don't know, they were just like, they're just bangers, and
yeah,
they're just
yeah,
upbeat, get you in the mood. But yeah, it's definitely the
yeah,
first album.
yeah. I get that. I think his second album, it was still good in my opinion,
Yeah,
but I think he had reached a level. It's as they always say, this difficult second album, and he'd reached a fame level that was insane
yeah,
on that second album. And I'm not saying he's he he's talented, but I think maybe, 'cause, what's it? There's 2 years between those albums,
yeah.
and in those yeah, 2017 and 2019. Because I'm looking at the Wikipedia
Yeah.
page, and like, has anyone ever exploded that big in 2 years?
No, not that I could like, not
Not
in
that
my
I,
time.
not that I know of. Like, to have to, you know, to go from, what do you call it, being, a nobody, like not a nobody,
Yeah,
but
but I
like
know what you mean.
not mainstream,
Yeah,
to then, um, performing at Glastonbury, being, a political
That was
activist.
literally insane. But this is why I love Stormzy,
Yeah,
because I don't just like his music, and I know I don't know him personally. Like I'd love to,
mm.
but I don't. Right? But just the way I like the way that he uses his fame.
Yeah,
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know him, right? But the impression that I get from him is like he's not just in it for himself. He's not just in it for the money. Like I
yeah,
feel like he's genuinely in it to help people. And there's quite a few like controversial topics that he like supports and like helps.
yeah, yeah. So because he's um, yeah, he headlined Glastonbury. He called Theresa May a pagan.
Honestly, I'm so glad
Uh,
we're talking about all these things. Like, yeah,
yeah, he's donated to charities. He's putting people through Oxford and like university scholarships
yeah,
at Cambridge. Um, he does. He's raising what do you call it? Um, Notoriety of other famous black people like Mallory Blackman, who raised used parts of her book or her name in his one of his songs,
yeah.
and which raised her notoriety. Everyone's face talks about her. And most famously, he's brought back the love of the nation's love of Tracy Beaker.
I love
Like,
Tracy Beaker. That's what
like,
sold it for me. I'm literally the biggest Tracy Beaker fan, and I love
yeah,
Stormzy, honestly. No, but like, yeah, I really love him. Like, I love the work that he does. Like, although this is like incredible, it should have happened way before now. But like, Stormzy was the first Black British solo artist to head Glastonbury in its 49-year history, and I think that's insane. Like,
yeah.
that just goes to show, like, I don't know what you would call it, like the influence that he has.
Yeah, I would say the correct word is insane,
Yeah,
but it's insane that it took that long for 49. It's insane that no one else did it. Like insane that it took that long. One being like considering the talent of grime artists there's been before. Grime is 20 years old, 15, 20 years old,
yeah.
really, and we have produced the UK have produced Wiley, Skepta, Jamie, Kano, DWE, you know, produced so many great
Big
like
artists.
big artists that have an astounding body of work. That Stormzy was the first one, which rubbed some people up the wrong way within the grime industry, and
Wiley.
the fact that yeah, and Wiley is a complicated character, and I do get some of his points. He just doesn't always portray it in the best way
Yeah.
because you know. Um, Alleged substance abuse. I don't know why I'm doing this. Like anyway, um, but also for Stormzy to do it, it's insane that he literally 2 years. It took him 2 years to do that.
Yeah.
That's in that that's insane. Like there shouldn't no one has ever had an album and then 2 years headline Glastonbury.
Like
That's
that is like I try, do you know what, I tried to get tickets for Glastonbury that year. I had the time
yeah,
booked off work, like I was all set for it. They literally sold out in I think like 21 minutes. Like I
yeah,
wasn't hoping to get them, right, but instead I booked holiday Tenerife. And me,
yeah,
me and Taylor sat on our balcony with about 6 drinks each because we went all
yeah,
inclusive, and we watched his Glastonbury set from my phone on the balcony, and we got
yeah,
so drunk, and we was like shouting "Big for your boots" at like the top of our, like God knows what the people like around us must have thought. But like honestly, like I love watching it, and like whether it's live or on like TV or online or whatever.
yeah,
Like I always enjoy his performance. I actually was at the Brits as well when he called Theresa May a pagan. I was
yeah,
there, like, and I just like it just gets me to this day. Like, how can you get away with that as well? Like,
yeah.
I just, yeah,
I think like yeah he so there was what do you call it? There's a program that I've been watching that's on BBC. You recommended Hip Hop That Changed the World,
yeah,
songs that changed the world, and that's really good. And like anyone out there that's just and generally interested in music in general or like documentaries should watch it. But I think they should do one on grime that changed the UK scene, and you know Stormzy would have a few you know songs in there like "Shut Up." Literally, you couldn't get away from that song, and it elevated him. You got uh, Vossi Bop, fuck the government, and fuck Boris.
honestly, I love it.
Like, yeah, he's done a lot of songs out there that have changed the scene in terms of what. Because I always felt like grime artists have very much, they're I think they could do more. They've done a lot,
Yeah,
but there could be more songs that are protest music,
yeah,
and that's what I think Stormzy does a lot of is protest music. But yeah, and like highlighting different inequalities in the world. But yeah, I don't know where we are now, but let's go. So the next section, which is hip hop hell. So you said before this, Emma, you're struggling with this one.
yeah.
Have you thought of anything since, or shall I throw some out there at you and see what sticks?
The only thing that I would say bothers me about hip hop is some of, and it's not all music, not all the songs, but
Mm,
sometimes the way that women are spoken about,
yeah, yeah,
like they're quite sexualized, like,
yeah,
and there are some songs maybe like more R&B where women do the same to men, and
yeah,
no matter what way around it is, it's a hell on both sides. Like I just
yeah,
yeah, it's hard because sometimes it's a good song and it's a cheeky little lyric or whatever, but at the same time,
mm,
if you really think about what they're saying, like that can actually
mm,
impact someone. I
yeah,
think it's a bit of a touchy subject, especially at the moment, like we
yeah.
touched on earlier with like things that are going on around men and like things in the news and stuff, like, so those things sometimes, like, they don't upset me, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely know what you mean. Like, um, I think I've been thinking about it for a while. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and
Yeah,
I
so
like
that
hip
must have
hop.
like completely like not changed your perception, but it does make you think, doesn't it? Because you maybe not thought about it previously, but now you have a daughter,
Yeah,
you
yeah, and
think about these things.
yeah, and it does completely change the what your thinking process. And obviously, I noticed it before, and I was just like, you know what, that's not right, but the song's good, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. And I know a lot of people do that, but it shouldn't be like that. And I think less and less there are songs out there that are like that now. There are I think there was a point where rap and hip hop was very much of that because that's what sold, and that's what got you into the charts. And now that I think the charts and selling CDs and selling albums aren't a thing. It's just about getting streams and stuff like that. Um, it's not about that anymore.
yeah,
I think there's more room for people to grow and do different kinds of genres, different talk about different things in their music. There's a lot of um, you know, there's conscious rappers, there's rise of funny rappers and stuff like that coming about that makes it the hip hop very diverse. And I think anyone that has a stuck in the past mindset about hip hop just being about bling and guns and girls, I would say take another look at hip hop now.
yeah,
There's a lot of things out there that is very good. Obviously, you still got that kind of music out there, but yeah, it's a difficult thing to, especially if like we both said we're vibe people. If something's vibing
yeah,
you, you can't. You're kind of like,
yeah.
oh man, I can't never listen to this song
That you've
again.
literally like that is literally it. Like that's what it, and we're all guilty of it. Like you might listen to
Yeah,
something sometimes and you're like, oh, that was a bit, that was a bit too much, or that was a bit harsh, or that was a bit inappropriate. But it's one lyric in a whole song, and the song's such a bop, and you're just like, you kind of just pass it, like do you know what I mean? Pass it off, and but like you say, it's not all like that anymore. Like it is
yeah,
moving. Music, life is moving in general, isn't it?
yeah,
Like in terms of like all those sort of topics. So, but that would be one hell that I would say. But
yeah.
let's see what you're about to say. Maybe they'll have a
It's,
few more in a minute.
so one I've just literally thought of now, and it might be you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. It
Mm,
depends how comfortable you are. Is how homophobic rap music is as well
yeah,
at times, and like how do you feel about that? Because you obviously are gay.
yeah.
Um, not obviously. Obviously,
Obviously.
I know that. I know that.
Yeah,
People might not know that you're gay. And how do you feel about that? Like, because that's something that again is not touched on in like obviously the there's like violence in general, the violence to women, and that kind of the homophobic nature of rap lyrics is often forgotten about.
yeah. If I'm honest, it kind of goes back what we were saying a minute ago. Like if it's one particular lyric in a rap and you kind of like the song, like I'm not gonna not listen to it because it says that. Like I guess I don't know. It's quite hard to explain it. Like I don't think it's right and it shouldn't be
Mm,
said. but at the same time, you do have to kind of recognize that this music wasn't made today. Like
yeah,
the times have changed, and obviously, depending whether it's like in it like for example like American rap or English rap or wherever it's from, different countries are at different stages with regards to like gay rights and stuff. And back
mm,
then, it might not have been that big of an issue. So these artists that might have said these things, and it doesn't even necessarily mean they mean it. It could have just been
yeah,
something that was in, like you say, like with the whole like uh sexualizing women and stuff, like that's what sold. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they agreed with or that's what they
yeah,
were like as people. So I don't know, it's a tough one. Like if you could stop it from happening, 100% for it.
yeah,
But I'm not gonna not listen to an album because someone's said something that is homophobic. i could
yeah,
I could see other people having very different opinions on that. I feel like I'm too easy. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I would say that it's all about right. So when it comes to the lyrics, say for example, someone like Snoop Dogg,
Hmm.
his early stuff is very much of that moment of that time.
Yeah,
He's a person that was, you know, if you couldn't play any like of the, apart from the famous songs,
yeah.
other songs on Doggy Style on that album, you couldn't play on the radio now because they would literally,
Cause too much uproar. Like you get too
too,
many
too,
complaints.
yeah, it's too many complaints, too much offense being taken, and I think there's that kind of music which is very much of its time, of its period, but you can say right, it wasn't right, but it shouldn't have happened, and people have a right to be annoyed about it if it's still doing harm now.
Yeah,
But then there's this second part where if someone's still making records like that now,
yeah. That's different.
like
Like,
that's so different because
yeah,
you're like, we are, you know, for however much the shift that is happening currently in the world in terms of race, equality, um, you know, immigration, all those
yeah,
things, how much shit's happening with that. We are very much like I fully believe that we are in evolved societies that can get on with people and know when something's wrong.
yeah,
And if you're making records that are, you know, homophobic, sexist, or racist, whatever, or inciting violence now, today, at this moment, you need to that's not on because one, it's boring,
yeah,
it's been done,
yeah.
and two, you have so much technology and so much inspiration and so much more creativity at hand that you could do better.
Also,
Like
I
there's so
feel like no matter how many people agree with you or like the song, I feel like something like that could end your career. Let's be honest. Like you have to be
yeah,
very careful with what you say these days. And so you should be. You shouldn't just throw
yeah,
remarks around like that, no matter whether you're from any part of the LGBT community, whatever race you are, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. Like you shouldn't just be throwing remarks around that can be offensive. But it would potentially ruin your career if you made one slip up, because
mm,
when it goes out
yeah,
there, there's no going back from it.
yeah, and it is that I don't think it like yeah, career being one, but just in general, it's like I am all for freedom of speech and you
Yeah,
can say what you want, but there's got to be a point where you realize if I say this, this could cause harm to someone. Is that the right thing to do? My belief system could cause someone harm. My words could cause someone harm. I could say this, and someone who is having a bad time in relation to their race or relation to their sexuality could go out and do harm to themselves.
yeah,
Or someone it could encourage someone to do harm to someone else, saying, right, that person said it. I like that person. They must be right. I'm going to go do this. It's happened before. It's happened with multiple instances of several things of how people have been, you know, influenced into doing harm to someone.
yeah. And
Um,
for the most part, like for me, in terms of like homophobia, I've not. I won't say I've not experienced it, because I have, but not on a massive level. It wasn't like it was hurtful at the time, and I
yeah,
wouldn't want anybody to go for it, but it has happened. But there's other people that like actually get killed. And same
yeah,
same with race as well. Like there's people that may never have experienced racism, and I can imagine that's probably quite rare. But they may have not experienced an awful lot of it or none at all, but then there's other people that may have even lost their life or almost lost their life because of it. So whilst you might not offend someone, you're almost definitely going to offend somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That got very serious.
Yes, it did.
It did. But yeah, it's an important thing to talk about, and I just thought I'd use, you know, I there's some parts of it where we'll ask someone a difficult question. I've asked difficult questions, and it's just one of those things. I'll,
But
you know, seize the
it's good to
opportunity.
be able to talk about it. Like, I don't know how many views you get on the podcast,
Oh,
but
not many,
but
not many, not many.
but being open and honest, and like, these are kind of like taboo subjects, aren't they, like sometimes, or for
Yeah,
some people, but like, remove the stigma, like, be open about it. Like,
yeah,
more people talk about
definitely.
it, the more awareness you're going to raise. Doesn't matter whatever the topic is. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like it's important to talk about this stuff, so yeah.
cool, cool. Right, the next subject or section is your hip hop Mount Rushmore. So tell me your top four rappers that, or hip hop artists, or it could be grime MCs. You're not getting a real mountain to sculpt, so it doesn't really bother me. As long as they're on along that theme, I'm happy.
Do you know what? Yeah, I've not gone down the artist route, I've gone down the song route.
Oh, this is great. I like this.
So rather than my top four artists, I've gone for my top four songs, and they're hip hop. This is hip hop version.
Yeah,
So obviously, as I've mentioned loads of times already, number one spot goes to No Role Models by J Cole. I
yeah.
just love it. Number two is Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. Like, I feel like that's
Okay.
just like
Yeah, that's an iconic song.
it's one
Oh,
everybody
yeah,
knows. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
It's actually funny because I didn't know about this song, but obviously at work, I say Coolio all the time. Like,
yeah,
you'll be like, "Oh, can you do this?" I'm
yeah,
like, "Yeah, no worries, Coolio." And
yeah.
when I was 15, nearly 16, I worked in a restaurant, and my boss was like much older than me, and I used to say Coolio, and then one day he like I sent him that in a text, and he replied with a meme with Coolio on it, and I just didn't reply because I didn't get it, and then the next day he was like, "You didn't get that, did you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he explained, and I was like, "No, I didn't get it." And then he explained what that was, and I went and listened to the song, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." So that's how I found out about that song,
Oh, that must have made him feel so old.
literally. And then
He went to the trouble to send a meme to be relatable to a younger
and
co-worker,
then I didn't
and
get
then
it. Sorry.
oh,
Oh dear.
yeah.
Number three is How We Do by The Game and 50 Cent.
Oh, absolute banger.
And then number four. Now, this is not necessarily a favourite, right? But it holds a special place in my heart, and I'll tell you why, okay? So
Yeah,
number four is I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy. And
yeah,
where's it, like, one, two, and Faith Evans or whatever.
yeah,
Um, Now, this, oh, I don't even know why he had this song, right? But so as you know, I recently, well, it's not recently now, it was like back in May, I lost my granddad to COVID.
yeah,
And obviously after that we got his phone back, so we was just like having a little look on it. Now, he was a very typical old-fashioned man. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know what old-fashioned music is, like, but you can imagine what the kind of things he
He had
listened
a
to.
vinyl player, did
Do you know what? Like, I don't even know. Like,
he?
probably. Um, but if I'd play any like hip hop or rap, like literally, I can literally still picture him saying it. He would always come out with, "What's this crap?" Followed by some sort of gang signs, hand gestures, trying to like imitate some sort of gangster, right? Without
Yeah,
fail every time. Now, when we got his phone back, there was like a series of songs, like just old people songs. Like, I don't even know what they were. Like, old people.
yeah.
All I can call them is old people songs.
You're
But there was I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy, and we don't understand why
right.
he ever had that on his phone. But apparently, he specifically asked my uncle to put it on there, and it made us laugh in like a really sad time because like it just wasn't him, like, at all. So when I found out that he had some sort of weird like for that song, obviously, like, I listen to it now and it reminds me of my granddad. But yeah, that was just a strange one because it was not something that we was expecting him to have.
So I wonder if, and that is a power of songs and music. It will that will song will always remind you of your granddad
Yeah,
now, and you will have that forever. And that is the power of song. There are songs that remind me of moments in my life, and you can never, you know, that song is never going to leave you now, and that's going to hold such a special moment to you, and that's just the power of music in general.
yeah.
Um, I wonder if he has it because it's a sample of "Every Breath You Take" by the Police, and maybe he was looking for that song,
Maybe
and
got
he
the
was like,
wrong
"Oh,
version.
got the wrong version." It's like, "Oh." Sting sounds a bit different. Why is he rapping?
But like,
I don't
could you
know.
just imagine like this 68-year-old bloke driving around listening to "I'll Be Missing You" by Puff Daddy, and it's
Yeah,
like old man car. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, it just made
yeah.
us laugh. But yeah, that's number 4 on
Oh,
fave
that
songs.
that is that is lovely. I really enjoyed that twist on it, and I appreciate you going a bit different, and that was good because yeah. So you got No Romance by Joe Cole. You got Coolio. There's a story with a Coolio Gangsta Paradise, making your old boss feel really old.
Yep.
Um, and then what's the other one? Sorry, I've forgotten.
Number 3 was
What
"How We Do" by The Game and 50 Cent.
how we do? Okay, what? Why that? Why how we do? Why that one by Fifty
I
Cent
just
again?
like
Because
it. I
then
just like the sound. Like, and I feel like it's one that you kind of have on like that sort of like hip hop R&B kind of floor in the
yeah,
club. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
yeah.
I always recognize it, and it's just one that I just like to just have a little bit of a dance to.
But it's like because there's How We Do and there's Hate or Love It, which are the two on that album, which are amazing. You probably don't know it. I'm not gonna sing it.
Go on.
Hate it or love it because I'm gonna be on top. I'm gonna shine. But watch your world stop. Oh, this is awful. Why am I singing?
I can't believe you actually done it. I really didn't think
Yeah,
you would. I'm
yeah.
gonna say I don't know that one. I don't know if I don't know it because of your rendition of it or because I genuinely
Oh
don't
my
know
God.
it. But I'll be sure to check that out later.
Yeah, yeah, you'll know it. You won't know it like the version. You'll probably prefer my version to
Do
their
you know what,
version
Nick?
anyway
Maybe
now.
I actually will.
Yeah,
So I might have
because
to ask
that
you to release that later.
yeah, don't worry. I will release that as a special end of lockdown tape. Tape. Why tape? Just online. But yeah. How you do? Yeah. Do you like the game, or was it just that
It's
song, or
literally just that song. Like, obviously I know 50 Cent, but I don't
yeah,
actually like. I mean, you could probably show me some of the songs by the game, and I probably would recognize them, but I couldn't tell you any of their other songs.
yeah, yeah. So what I'll do, I'll re-record the game's documentary album myself, doing all the parts, and I'll send it over to you.
Please do.
Um, yeah, but yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. I've, like maybe that's well, you've given me an idea. Songs now. Anyway, I'll discuss that another time.
Sorry.
Anyway, so if no hip hop, if you didn't have hip hop to listen to your rap, what would you've got a diverse range, but what do you know? What playlist, Spotify playlist are you picking if it's not that?
Do you know what? Yeah, at the end of every year, Spotify does this like cool thing where it gives you like your top genres,
Yeah,
and mine was something called um urban contemporary.
yeah.
I don't even know what that is, Nick. But
I think they've made that up.
do you know what? I do too.
Maybe I'm urban contemporary. Maybe my rendition of I
Maybe,
love it was there.
but
Yeah,
for whatever that is, urban contemporary, like that is what that they said that I listened to the most and was my fave genre.
yeah,
And I don't even know how to describe it. It just consists of like some music has lyrics, some music doesn't. Like so sometimes it's just a beat. Like it's just chill chill vibes is the only way I can explain it.
yeah,
But I think maybe that was the top one because it's the one I listen to the most. Because like I said earlier, like I'd prefer things like that I don't necessarily know and they're a bit different because then I can just like ignore it as background music.
yeah.
Um,
I'm gu- yeah. I'm guessing because of the work we do as well. Like you can't really have anything that's too lyrically
do you
heavy
know what? There's been so
because you
many times I've been typing and then I've typed out the
yeah,
lyrics that are in my head. Like not like
yeah,
full lyrics, but like like when you're like in the middle of writing a sentence and then you type a random few words because that's what you
yeah,
were saying in your own head. Like that's why I
yeah,
have to listen to things sometimes that are easy to. It's not blocking out because you are taking it in, but like you don't get too distracted by.
yeah. And do you think that would have been the case anyway, or do you think that's partly because of like the job we have where we, you know, if everyone knows, we basically talk to customers online, so we type a lot.
Yeah,
And do you think that's based on because of the job, or because that would that have naturally happened? Is that just
I feel like
you
it is
know?
definitely because of the job. And I've just sort of from that. It's been fortunate that I do like that kind of music.
Yeah,
Um, but if we're talking something a little bit more well known or that actually exists because I still don't know what urban contemporary is. Um I would say it would probably there's two. one I actually want to talk to you about because I quite like R&B.
Yeah.
What's the difference between hip hop and R&B? Like, where are they the same? How do you differentiate them? Because I feel like they're very similar, but
Mm.
one's a bit more sexy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so I think R&B, hip hop, and rap are very much entwined. I think of the era that you were probably listening to, a lot of R&B featured rappers or hip hop artists
Yeah,
on there. I think how does someone? It used to be hip hop was the one with a message, like they were protesting about something, or you know that was um, like saying had a political or standpoint on it.
yeah,
And now that's become more rap, and hip hop is more like a vibe, a beat. And to be fair, in the early days of hip hop, when it was uh, uh, two decks and just and a mic, kind of a DJ and an MC.
yeah,
It was all very much about a vibe, and just it was party music. It was you know like music to basically get off to, basically. Basically to make out. You go to a party, they play hip hop. You go home with a girl or a guy, and that would be it, really.
yeah,
And I think R&B is this is just for me. R&B is the stuff that after the party on the drive home you would play,
yeah,
and that's where you couldn't play. Well, you could, but it'd just be like I don't know. I'm gonna it'd just be a bit too like intense for that kind of vibe. That's
yeah,
what I would say at a party. But R&B is definitely like if you like R&B, a good person to speak to is um, the mother of my child, Chelsea, because she loves R&B,
yeah.
and if you wanted to get into that and know a bit more about it, she'd be a perfect person
Like,
to
I would
speak to
say
about
I'm more R&B than hip hop, but I wasn't
it. Yeah,
sure if they were like like the same, similar. Like, I wasn't sure how to differentiate them. But I think that's like you touched on earlier. You said that a lot of hip hop rappers have featured in R&B songs. I think that's
yeah.
where I'm making the link and maybe the bit of a confusion.
Yeah, yeah, because they do go together. Like, I can't remember who was listening. It was Scorcher, who's a UK grime artist rapper. He was in an interview. This is age ago. He was actually doing an interview outside a Krispy Kreme donut near my school. And this was like beginning of 2020 when it was all when I think it was either tier one or tier two, whatever lockdown it was. It was some kind of lockdown,
Yeah,
and he was outside doing an interview because it was probably safer to do that. And he was saying that originally you would have like your Mandem records, something commercial, and your Galdem records, something for the ladies,
yeah,
and maybe there was that like, crossover where they were like, right, this is a hip hop artist coming out, of the '90s, of the noughties. Right, we're gonna do this album. We need a song that we can you know pitch to the female audience a bit more.
yeah.
Which again is just capitalism gone mad. Female artists would like the song for the mandem as much as they would like the song for the the the, the
The
gals. So
Galdem.
really, the galdem. And maybe that's where that crossover is. That a lot of rappers are not hip hop artists felt they needed to have a more a song directed towards women, maybe.
Yeah,
And yeah, maybe that is it. And there's maybe that's where that crossover is. And again, R&B is not just for women. Again, this is generalizing. But I listen to a lot of R&B. I like R&B. And yeah, R&B is like again, I say it's adjacent. It's of the same like a lot of rappers can get to that on that beat,
yeah,
on that kind of that vibe and feature on it. And I think a lot of rappers, I would say, of that time period of like, you know, your, your rappers that were born in like the 80s, 90s, late, late 70s, their parents would listen to Motown and like that kind and soul music, which is very influences R&B a lot. So
yeah,
that's where they probably get it from.
yeah.
But yeah, do you have a favorite R&B and artist at all?
Um,
Because I realised I've just waffled and not asked you a question, and I'm
no,
on.
that was my fault because it should be you answering the questions. I asked you that question. It's my podcast now. But no, I don't have. I wouldn't. It's tough. You really put me on the spot tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's very similar to hip hop that I like a lot of the music, but I'm not drawn to one particular artist. Like I said earlier about these Ministry of Sounds, like I have several R&B ones as well. So
yeah,
it's just a mixture of it all. I just like the way it sounds, to be honest.
yeah. You are very much a vibe person, and I
Yes.
like that because I, you know, some things are just vibes, and you can't help but like it.
And sometimes I
Like,
think people get, like, not all the time, but sometimes I think people get a bit too caught up in it because it's not their genre. Like,
yeah,
you can be open to different genres. You don't have to be.
mm,
I mean, if you only like one thing and that's just genuinely what you're into, that's fine. But you shouldn't limit yourself, because I think there's so much music to be explored that if you like different genres, or you like just vibe to music like I do, like you said you do sometimes, like then you
yeah,
100% should. Like, music's so important. Like, I'm getting deep here, but like I literally couldn't live my life without music. Like,
yeah.
I listen to it every
Neither two
single
can't.
day, whether I'm at the gym, whether I'm in the car, whether I'm at work, like whether I'm home alone and turn it up really loud, whether I'm going to sleep. I
Yeah,
listen to music when I go to sleep. Like, I
yeah,
listen to it all the time. So
yeah.
the more you like, the
But
better. I've got more options to choose from.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why you were one of the first people I wrote down on my list when I started to idea the podcast, because I was like, Beth really loves her music. You are the person that, you know, when everyone's working in the office, you know, it gets to like you have your chat in the office a bit, like you know, it gets to half nine, 10 o'clock, and literally you're like, right guys, I'm locking in, and literally
Put your
you'll just
earphones
be
in. Done.
in filming, not talking to anyone. You may prop up like, anyone want a coffee or something or a cup of tea or something, and that'd be it. Like you would just be in music. Obviously, you get to 2 o'clock and you go a bit silly, and I have to calm you down.
So I have to
But
keep like get the energy out.
yeah, but yeah, I fully get that. Like music is life.
Yeah.
Like I will play music. Like I recently bought um, a few Google Home speakers, and literally the only reason I did that was to have music everywhere playing in my house.
Yeah.
So I put it on, press play, and every room I go into, there's music playing.
I love that.
I like that is my goal. I want to get some that linked to some speakers outside, for in the garden for in the summer,
That would be cool.
and one for the bathroom, because I wanted something that was a bit more waterproof,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find anything at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fully get the music is a vibe, and you should just listen to it. The best place for music I find, like where you don't expect to find really good music and you get drawn into a vibe, is Nando's. Like the music Nando's plays, you just get drawn in, don't you?
I feel
You
like
just fully
some I don't know what Nando's you're going to, but the last time I went to Nando's, I feel like it was just like elevator music. Like, it wasn't even, that music that just like plays, like it's not even like, I don't even know what it is. Like, it's just sound. But
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I don't know what
yeah.
Nando's you've been to be honest.
So I've been to Nando's where it feels like you're on holiday in Portugal, and they're just, you just dancing in your seat, eating your peri peri, like it just like, and I get it. I don't know what they're saying because it's all in Portuguese,
Yeah,
like, and but it's just a vibe, isn't it? You've been, I'm guessing, on holiday. You've been places and you've seen like music, and you're like, I have no idea what you said, but this is just like I'm feeling it.
yeah,
So
no, I do know what you mean.
yeah. So the last section is recommendations. So, do you have any recommendations? Or I think it's going to be playlists like your way. Is there any Spotify playlist you're like, right, that's a good one to listen to?
I always go for two things in particular. The word, well, the number 90, 90s, and
Yeah.
classics. Like, I just feel like you can't go wrong. Whether that's for hip hop, R&B, club classics, like 90s classics, it just always does it for me. Like, I feel
It's
like I was
always
born a little bit too late.
the best combination of see, I have the 90s in general, 90s music.
Yeah,
I am conflicted. I think it's cheesy music, and it's always, I don't know. Maybe I grew up in an age where I was a bit more of a teenager. Like, oh, this is I want to find. I don't like popular mainstream music. Maybe I was just being a bit, of a rebellious teenager
yeah,
and was trying to, find my own way. But I always find it a bit cheesy. I do enjoy it, but I couldn't listen. But classics is a very good word to search into Spotify,
yeah.
because you'll find classics and things that have stood the test of time.
Like,
Um,
the one thing that like, there was a period where I was really into like Ibiza classics, which obviously,
yeah.
like, it's not even a genre really, is it? But it's just like,
No.
it's just a mixture of songs, obviously, that you would get sort of
Yeah.
out in the clubs in Ibiza. And then there became a point where I actually went to Ibiza and I was listening to like all the Ibiza classics, like things like, I don't even know, like Freed from Desire, or like Sweet Like Chocolate,
Yeah.
like Another Chance, like things like that. Like, because I was buzzing to go to I was gonna say Australia then, like I literally don't know where that came from. Buzzing to go to Ibiza, but when I got there, they didn't play any of that music because it's all the new stuff. Like I
Yeah,
prefer older music, I think.
yeah, yeah. So do you like? Do you have any like particular artists that you would recommend? If you have, you what's the most recent artist you've discovered and feel I really like them? It
Um,
doesn't have to be hip hop or rap. It's just in general because you. I'm guessing you. As we've discussed, is you're a vibe person. But has there been an artist that I like your vibe? I want to hear more from you.
I would say, and this isn't necessarily recently because I would say within the last year, but obviously like I keep saying I don't necessarily stick to, obviously we know about Stormzy, but I don't really stick to artists. It's more just like the odd song that I like, and
Yeah,
then sort of go from there. But I um do like a bit of, it's an artist called I Am DDB, and she's
yeah. I've
kind
never.
of like, she's big but she's not that big, like not many, like my friends don't know who she is. Like I've played a few songs like, you know, around them, and they're not familiar with her. um but she, it's kind of a mix between a little bit of rap, kind of an R&B kind of vibe. Like I don't really know what her genre is, but I quite like
Okay,
her.
so she from like the genre described in Wikipedia, alternative hip hop, trap, jazz, fusion. Again, that sounds like right up my alley because I like that kind of stuff. I do like um when that I and this leads me on like this lecture is called recommendation slash future of hip hop. And I do like people like that, and I'm going to check her out. But I like people that are she's because she's got a Portuguese heritage. She obviously is, that might play an influence in her music or her likes. But yeah, I like musicians that push the boundaries, and I think there's very much more of that coming through, and people from different walks of life getting into music, different backgrounds, and like is it Bad Bunny who's the what do you call it?
I'm not actually
Is that,
familiar with.
I'm not familiar with it, but I know of him.
Yeah.
Um, he's like a Puerto Rican rapper,
Okay.
and he's doing quite well. Um, and he's, if you thought of rappers, you wouldn't think someone from Puerto Rico, would you? You would think, someone from America or someone from the UK.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good that we're having more and more people stepping into this world. Like of late, there was only Eminem that was, the real white rapper.
Yeah.
Like, and now there's more white rappers coming into it, and not, trying to imitate black rappers, but speaking from their own experiences
Yeah.
and stuff and their own influences. You've got Post Malone, who's, he would be considered a rapper,
Yeah.
but he doesn't sound like hip hop or rap, does he at all? So, but yeah, do you think in general, do you think music will have that more diversity?
I hope so, because me personally, I like lots of different things, and like my music is very diverse. So, to have more diversity would be great for me.
Yeah,
Um, I think it, I think it will, because it's like you say, it's easier for people to get into it. Like you say, anyone can record a song and pop it up on YouTube. Before, it was much harder to get in, and I don't know how you sort of made yourself in the music industry, but I mean, as just hazarding a guess, I can assume it's sort of being something that is popular already.
yeah,
Whereas now it's
yeah,
much easier for people to sort of make a name for themselves. That actually that is going to increase diversity, because something that's not so popular is more likely to actually make it, and you're more likely to sort of find it, and then obviously decide whether you like it or not.
yeah. I would say that's definitely even just like how to get into the music industry now to then, or even how to listen to music in general from like when I was a kid to now is insane. Like,
I feel like social media has like a massive
yeah,
impact on it. I mean, like another one of my favorite rappers actually is H.
yeah, I like H
And
a lot.
I remember, and I don't know what year it was, but I think it was like, I can't remember what it was called. It was like something rhymes.
Hmm.
And that was like it was a video he made like in Manchester. He was quite young. It was just him, like I don't know if it was a freestyle or something he'd written, but I remember seeing it on Facebook. Um, it obviously just went viral, and then like a couple years later, maybe not even a year, just a year or two, like boom, like he's massive now. Like,
Yeah,
and he did an interview with some social media company, and he basically said that that video just blew up overnight, and it kind of didn't stop from them and from then. And now he's got an actual name for himself. He's making good money, like releasing good
Yeah,
music, and he's like actually popular.
yeah, and I think that is the power of social media. I don't know. Have you heard that new song he featured on? It was originally latest trends. Is with it's called A1 and J1. They met on House Party.
Really?
Yeah, they met on House
Like
Party,
as
and
in
how
that app, like
yeah, it was in the app, yeah. And that's the difference. Like I to get music that, to discover music back in the day, it would be radio, pirate radio,
yeah,
or you would download it illegally.
yeah.
And half the time you were trying to download a song that you knew you like, and you would get someone that incorrectly labeled something, and you get a song that was completely different.
Brilliant.
Like, and sometimes you get into, I never heard of this person before, I like this. You try and find out who it was by, you ask your friends, because internet wasn't great. You couldn't just, now I can, like, my phone, if the song's playing in the background, unlock my phone, it tell me what song it
Yeah,
is.
and like you've got like Shazam and stuff as well, haven't you?
She's
And
Shamas,
you
yeah,
can even do that. Is that what it's called, Shazam? You can even do
yeah,
that on Snapchat as well now. Like you don't even need
yeah,
the Shazam app. You can hold down on Snapchat and it will do the same thing.
yeah. And to go from that to now, where you can find out where any song you want, find any song you want to listen to, like, it will make it easier for people to come through. And if you've got, Spotify's the big one, but you've got, you know, Tidal will have a whole leap of music in there. YouTube Music, you can just upload anything to YouTube. You can
Yeah.
Apple Music, whatever it's called now. You've got SoundCloud, which is even more
Do you
independent.
know what? I like a bit of SoundCloud, and like just going back on like Stormzy, like one of my favorite songs by Stormzy. I'm a true fan. I can't even remember the name of it. But it's
Yeah,
not actually on Spotify. You can find it on YouTube, but it's actually from SoundCloud. Like when he released "Shut Up," that was like, I mean, to be honest, it's a good song and everyone knew it was catchy, but there was nothing special about it at the time. I actually had people like be like laughing at me, like, "Yo, you actually like that song? Like what?"
yeah,
But
yeah,
because he didn't have any actual music, I looked him up on SoundCloud, and there's you should actually have a look because there's a lot of music on SoundCloud. Some of it he's actually singing. Like Stormzy can't sing, right? I'm sorry, but he cannot sing. But he's actually singing, and
yeah,
it's very different to what he actually released. It's interesting. Like you should have a look.
yeah, yeah. I definitely, I was there was a at one stage SoundCloud was the place to find new music, and I was very big into that. And I've kind of Spotify has got so good now
Yeah,
in terms of giving you new artists. Like today, I was listening to music as I worked, and there's like at least 4 or 5 albums that I was like, right, I've got to listen to the album now.
yeah.
And again, it sounds ungrateful, like, oh god, I've got to listen to that album because I like that song so much. But it can get like that. It can be very much there's so much. And SoundCloud was like that for new artists, and it still very much is. Like um, a guest I've got coming on in a few weeks' time, he's got loads of music on SoundCloud. He's not on Spotify, and I listened to his whole back catalogue the other day. Very good. But there's lots of. I think SoundCloud is very much experimental,
Yeah.
and you'll get a lot of different, you know, people that will release proper music, but people that will just playing with an idea and they'll play it out and see how it goes.
Sometimes though you find like an absolute tune on SoundCloud, but
Yeah,
it's it's a little bit annoying because SoundCloud isn't like I don't feel like it's necessarily user friendly
yeah,
compared to the likes of Spotify or Apple Music. So
yeah,
I would love to be able to on Spotify if I find a good song I can like heart that song and download it and play it very and access it very easily whenever I want to.
yeah.
Whereas you can't do that with SoundCloud.
Hear that SoundCloud?
Yeah.
Be easier,
L-
get
At
better.
SoundCloud, get better.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, that's it really. That's it. How do you find that? How was that good for
I
you?
actually really enjoyed it. Like first time on a
Cool.
podcast, I was really nervous at first, but like you say, you do forget you're recording after a while. But I
You
will
get
have a
into
little
it.
listen to Tupac, and then maybe on a part two, you can ask me that Tupac versus Biggie question again.
Yeah, we'll go do that. But I will. What I'll do, I might send you some playlists
Yes, do it.
because that might be. Normally, I say I'm going to send you someone the person like an album or an artist, but very much like if you're a playlist person, like I won't send you anything that's going to be having you type in some to in work because we need to be concentrated. I'll send you some. I'll send you some chilled out stuff. Actually, I've got some chill hip hop playlists
Yeah.
that I listen to quite a bit. I'll send you some of those. But yeah, have you got anything to plug or anything to say as we end the podcast?
No, I haven't.
You,
Just listen to.
you sure?
Yes, just basically what I've just reiterated what I said earlier is be open to all different genres of music, and even if it's not something you're used to, sometimes you should step out your comfort zone a little bit, give it a listen, see if you like it.
Cool. You're not even going to promote your dog, are you?
Nick, that's completely irrelevant. Imagine I came onto your Hip Hop Choices podcast and was like, "Oh, by the way, guys, got a French bulldog called Otis. Follow him on Instagram." Like,
Yeah, that's completely fine.
that's just so irrelevant. Like, that is not the topic of this conversation. If you'd have said that before, maybe I would have put something together to sell my pitch. But you've put me on the spot now.
Anyway, but yeah, I'll add the link to the Otis's
Do
page.
it.
You never know. If you like dogs, by the way, Beth has a very cute dog. Has an Instagram page. If you want more dogs on your timeline,
Follow him on
have
Instagram.
follow them on Instagram.
Love that.
But anyway, thanks for coming on, Beth.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I mean, no problem.